Good morning and welcome to our live crafting this morning. My name's Jenny McCormack and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator based in the market town of Brackley, which is in Northamptonshire in the UK. Thank you for joining us this morning. If you're joining live and you would like to, please do say hi so that we know you're here. All of these videos get uploaded to YouTube, so it may be that you're watching either on catch up or on YouTube at a later date. And if that is the case, do comment and say hi. You can use hashtag replay so that I know you're watching on replay. And if you have any questions or queries, then don't hesitate to pop those in the comment section, either on Facebook or on YouTube. And I will get back to you. Just trying to clean my glasses so I can see what I'm doing. So I finally caught up with watercolour month. So for me, this is watercolour week because I've been busy with other projects in July. But July was nominated as watercolour month. Good evening to you, Kerry in Australia. Thanks for joining us. And the cards that we created yesterday with these, I haven't actually finished them off. I've got the punched out pieces from the dual oval punch to put sentiment on. But these were the cards that we created yesterday, just using watercolour pencils. So Stampin' Up have a range of watercolour pencils, obviously, that coordinate with our colours. And this is pre-printed paper called Perfectly Penciled. And all I've done yesterday was just add a little bit of the pencil to the flowers and the leaves in this case, and the butterflies. And then used an aqua painter or water brush with a little bit of water in the barrel and just drew out some of the colour. So this will be our coffee and card designs for this week using these papers. They do give a soft look and quite a different look to the blends. And if you're not a fan necessarily of using alcohol markers for colouring and blending, then this is a good alternative. I mean, there's lots of different ways to watercolour anyway. So these are using 3 of the patterned papers. So I've done this one here. And then this one I did in Coastal Cabana and Bermuda Bay. And I've used a Bermuda Bay backing for that. And this one I used a variety of colours. So they look a little bit like sweet peas. This is like a sweet pea flower, but I'm not 100% sure. Sweet peas aren't usually as straight as that. Hi, Jeanette. And funny enough, Jeanette shared a photograph that she'd done very similar with these papers. So great minds think alike, Jeanette. And I really like your cards. You've done a stepper design. It's really nice. So those are the ones from yesterday. So if you missed that video, you can watch that on YouTube. That's there now. And today we are going to be using some watercolour paper, and we're going to do another good old technique of Emboss-Resist, and that is where you stamp an image. We're going to add white embossing powder and heat set it, and then we're going to go over with a watercolour wash over these areas. And I thought I'd use the Butterfly Brilliance. I haven't got a large floral stamp. If you saw my post I think it was last night, there's a little video from Stampin' Up with a different design with a really nice sort of mandala flower. But I haven't got that, and I thought the Butterfly Brilliance should work for this particular technique. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ink up the stamp with Versamark ink, stamp it onto my watercolour paper, and then use our white embossing powder over the top. Heat set that using my heat tool, and I found my Stampin' Up heat tool, I'm glad to say. It slipped underneath my cabinet. When I was putting my other one away, I saw a little bit of cord, and lo and behold, when I pulled the cord, there it was. I'm also going to be using our new excuse me, accessories pack, and our accessories pack includes this little tub here, which is perfect for using your embossing powders. You can tip your powders into here, and then you can open the little top and then tip them back into your tub of embossing powder. And obviously you can use these for glitters as well. It also comes with an embossing buddy for removing the static. It comes with a brush for cleaning off any bits from here, but also you can use that on your card. And the best thing, in my opinion, are these tweezers. These have a ceramic handle here, and they're reverse tweezers, so you squeeze to open it like that, and then you let go and it holds your card, and it holds it really, really well. And because they're ceramic, it's perfect for using with the heat tool, and they're very, very strong indeed. So if I pull that, you've got to pull quite hard to take the card out. So I'll be using those. So you can buy this accessories kit. So let's get started, and what I'm going to do then is use ink refills and my water brush to go over the backgrounds. Morning, Catherine. Hope you're feeling a little bit better today. I've just picked out a few colours from the Brights range. So I've got Gorgeous Grape, Coastal Cabana, Daffodil Delight. I've got Polished Pink, one of the in colours, and Calypso Coral. So I'm going to use some of those for my butterflies. I am going to use my Stamparatus. Let me just grab that, because I want to be able to ink this up a few times to make sure I've got a good covering. So this is watercolour paper, but you could use our shimmer white. You don't really want to use our plain basic white for this technique. You need something that's going to absorb the water without crinkling up too much. Oh good, glad to hear you feel fine. So this is Butterfly Brilliance, and if you've been watching me for a while, you'll know that I actually cut up my butterfly stamps. So what I've done is I've actually purchased two. Having said that, what I could do is use my individual ones anyway, but what I wanted to do is keep one complete, because this matches the die set, so you can use the dies to cut them all out in one go. And then I've also cut this up so you can use the butterflies on their own. So this is an unused stamp, so I am going to ink it up a few times just to get it going. So I'm just putting my watercolour paper there. Watercolour paper comes like this. It's 5 inches by 7. Just going to position that like so. And I haven't put the label on, doesn't really need it, because I'm always going to be die cutting or just stamping as is. So here's our Versamark ink pad. So I'm going to ink this up, and you can get refills for your pads. So you can see mine is really, when they come, they look cream. You can see mine is rather well used, but you can just keep re-inking. Some of mine are I actually had before Stampin' Up, so I've been a demonstrator for over 12 years. So some of my Versamark ink pads are probably 15, 20 years old. Okay, now I know you can't see that image because it's clear, but I am going to add another layer. So I hope everybody's well. It's nice and bright this morning. I'm beginning to feel a little more rested than I have been over the last few days, so I'm hoping that will continue. And today I will be getting out all of our glass in a box projects to you. Okay, just going to do one more just to make sure. Obviously with watercolour paper as well, it's not as flat because it needs to accept the water, which is why I'm using the Stamparatus. If you had a non-detailed stamp, you could probably just stamp it once and get away with it. Okay, so there is my stamped image on my card. You really can't see it, or you might just be able to see it. Okay, let's move this out of the way. Now what I should have done was use my embossing buddy on it first, but it's not absolutely critical for this particular design. Okay, so what I'm going to do is pop my embossing powder over it. So this is our white powder. Now mine is rather well used, shall we say, and it's got a little bit contaminated with glitter and things like that, so I am just going to tip this over like so. You can see there's a bit of dimensional in there. Like that. So hopefully now you can see some of that detail. Like so. Okay, just gonna flick that from the back. Now what you can do, if you've got a small pot that you've used, you can just take the top of this off and then siphon it back in. Okay, and then you can use the brush to brush any excess away. Okay, obviously I've got mine in a bowl already, so I could have just tipped it over the bowl. Make sure you put your top back on. Oh, you can see the butterflies, good. I can see them, but you can't always see how that's coming out. There we go. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is heat set this with my heat tool. So I'm using my Stampin' Up heat tool today. So I'm just going to allow it to warm up. Hopefully we don't lose our sound today like we did yesterday. No idea what happened there. Okay. So you really want to let your heat tool get to oh, hi Glenda, thanks for joining us. You want your heat tool to get to temperature. And what I am going to do to save my fingers is use my do it that way, my tweezers, although it is a fairly large piece of paper. So I'm just popping this on, and I'm just going to work my way around the butterflies. And you just want to do it slowly and surely. You don't need to do all this waving around. Just keep it at the same distance And this is melting the powder. Now obviously I'm doing all of the butterflies here. Morning, Moretta. And then I could watercolour them and use the dies to cut them out, or I can watercolour them and use them as a background. And I haven't quite decided which one I'll do. Okay, let's turn that off. Okay, and I'm just looking to make sure that I've got all of those bits heated up, and they'll go glossy and they'll go a single colour. So I appreciate you can't see those as well, but you can see the glossiness hopefully. Okay, so what we're going to do now is use some ink refills onto a block. So I've got Coastal Cabana, literally just going to put a drop. You don't need very much ink refill. These ink refills last a long time. I've still got some of my original ones. Obviously I do a lot of crafting with people with coffee and card, and we're using the ink pads every week, not everyone. So and I have 2 sets of ink pads for that reason. Okay, Flirty Flamingo, and I've got Polished Pink. So, right, I'm just going to grab a piece of paper to put behind. Let's do it like that. Move everything out of the way. So hopefully you can see that. That's fairly central for you. Right, so I've got a water brush or aqua painter. You can also use a paintbrush just with some water. And I'm just going to squeeze a little bit onto here. Okay, like so. And I'm just going to go over the butterflies. So this is called an Emboss-Resist technique, because where I've stamped and embossed the butterflies, that will resist the water and the ink. Like so. So it just pops up. And what I should have brought in was a piece of kitchen roll. Let me see if I've got my, I have my muslin cloths, so I can just clean this off in between. I don't mind a little bit of colour moving around. So let's add this one here. So this is Daffodil Delight, I think. It is. Obviously that's quite a high concentration of ink, which is why it's much darker, but I'm happy with that. That's still okay. And I think I'll do this one up here as well. And if I just add more water, if you can see that on the block here, you'll get a lighter wash. And then the watercolour ink, or the watercolour and the ink sinks into the paper behind. Now you can use your cloth to lighten something if you just use your cloth fairly quickly after, before it dries. Let's clean this one off, and let's have a little bit of This one is Bermuda Bay. Let's put that in here. And if you get it too light, you can just add a little bit more ink refill to your palette. So I'm just using a block, but if you've got like a little painter's palette, you could use that. I can hear the kittens loose upstairs, causing havoc. So they did cause havoc a little bit yesterday afternoon while I was out of class. So I left my laptop on, although it was in sleep mode, and obviously they'd walked over the keyboard, woken it up, and then entered some text into my Word document. And then this morning I realised that they'd obviously, my windowsill was extremely clear. And the reason the windowsill was extremely clear was because they'd obviously been along it and knocked everything off. So I've got to pick up my 2 little tubs of die cuts, which are now on the floor. Okay, this is polished pink. I'm going to pop this one in here. This would be great for a rainbow effect. So in the little snippet that I shared on Gemini Crafts last night, you can see this effect with a different stamp. But I think it might be quite nice. I can't quite decide whether to leave it as is, or I might die cut it so that you get the colour behind each one. Right, let's see. Just clean this one out. And then here we've got a bit of gorgeous grape. So if I wanted these really to blend in together, I could have chosen colours that were similar. So pinks and purples would have been a good choice for blending the colours in. Oops, it's very dark. Okay, so I can just lighten that, like so. So you'll see that the watercolour paper is still flat. If I'd, let's show like that. If I tried to do this on our basic white thick or thin card, it would have started to buckle now because it's taking in the water. You could use shimmer white card as well. That will take watercolour well, and it has a shimmery effect too. Okay, hello Sinner. Hope you got back home safely yesterday. Right, so there's our watercolour butterflies. So I think this Bermuda Bay one could be a little bit darker to make it show out a little bit more. And obviously you could use multiple colours going across. I've just used single colours for each one, but you could easily sort of do your own mix. So I'm just adding a bit stronger amount of Bermuda Bay. Just to make that stand out a little bit more. So do you think we should die cut these individually and use those? I think it might be quite nice. Or use that in its own right, just cut it down as a panel. Let me know what you think. And let's add a little bit more. So just make sure that you're cleaning off your water brush in between, unless you want you know, a mix of colours. Just going to make this a little bit darker. So it's called Emboss-Resist. There's lots of different ways you can do this, but basically white or clear embossing powder on your image will then prevent the ink from sticking to it. I might have a little bit of pink at the top. Die cut, yeah. That's my feeling, Jeanette. I think because I've used really bright, a bright mix of colours. So here I've added a little bit of that Calypso Coral to get a sort of two-tone effect. And I might do the same here. Like so. So you'll see when these get cut out. And there's a single die that cuts them all out in one go. I do have to retrieve my die cutting machine though, so and let's just add maybe a little bit of this pink up here. No, I'm not sure about that now. Let's take that out. That's fine, Moretta. I should have warned you. No trouble. Moretta's not a fan of butterflies. There we go. Just bring that back in. Okay, so you've got plenty of time to go over and add more detail, less detail, more colour, less colour. Okay, and if you wanted to lighten this up even once you've inked it, just add a little bit of just plain clear water onto here and then mop it. Okay, so let me grab the dies for this. Which are here. My system works. Okay, so these are the Brilliant Wings dies, and they consist of a whole series of butterflies that you can cut out in their own right, just from cards and paper. And then it also consists of this single die cut that will cut all of these in one go. So it's a really useful set. The other thing I could do is just take a piece of watercolour paper. I'm just going to do that really quickly. Now I've got everything out. So this is a piece of watercolour paper, and I'm just going to do a little wash here and then die cut a detail butterfly. So excuse me, let's just take some yellow. That's going into a bit of Calypso, like that, and then a bit of purple. Yes, kittens in training. I did have one kitten on my feet last night, which is very cute, when I was crafting. But they've just been, so they go into a dog crate overnight, just to give the rest of the cats in the house a bit of a chance. And also so we know where they are. And so they get let out in the morning and they go a little bit bonkers for a little while. Okay, let me just add that in there. So I'm just going to die cut these separately just for a different effect, just to show you. Okay, so that will do. Okay, right, so I just need to retrieve my die cutting machine, which has just come back from class, so bear with me 1 second. Okay, see? Go. Voila. So actually I'm not going to put it up on there because I haven't got much space. So I'm going to take this one with the outline dies, just lay that on my base plate. Kittens we have at the moment, we have 4, Glenda. These were kittens that my daughter bred from 2 of her cats, and I have been advised that we are only keeping 1, but we are planning, all being well, another litter. Okay, so I'm just lining this up on here. See if I've got any tape. Yes, just want to put a little bit of tape on so I'm not holding it. Cassie is coping amazingly well, Kerry. So Cassie, for those of you who don't know, is our collie dog. She's 16 and she is amazing with them. She will give them a warning if they, because they just tend to play, and you know, that's what kittens do, isn't it, the whole time. So she will give them a warning. I did notice that they were all helping her with her food this morning, so she didn't really get a look in, bless her. Right, so those are my butterflies in there that are going to be cut out. We are. Take that off there. Now, what I didn't add into the mix was the watercolour paper is still damp. So I'm just going to heat that a little bit and run it back through again. It has cut it, but not it's not coming away cleanly. Morning, Lynn. Okay, just going to pop that through a second time. There we go. There we are, that's a bit better. You can see there where it's just stuck and torn the paper a little bit. Come on. So here are butterflies coming out. There we go, so that's the effect. Teasing this apart, I don't want to split it, so it has cut right through, but because it's slightly damp paper, it doesn't want to come away too cleanly. There we go. So I would recommend, if you did this, to allow your watercolour paper to dry properly before you die cut it. There we go. Sweet as that. These are the sort of multicoloured ones that I did. Oh, we have kittens in the craft room. Oh, I knew I was going to do that. Trimmed his, cut his antenna off. Right, there we go. Okay, and then the other one I'm going to do, I'm just going to dry this, is use the detailed ones to cut this out, just so you can see the difference. Now I'm going to leave that for a minute before I cut these out, but these are the detailed ones. So let's do that one, and then there's a couple of smaller ones, and these are different to the stamps. That's that one there. Okay, so I'm going to pop those through in a minute. Do something with these in the meantime. So I'm going to cut that little antenna off. Poor chap. There we go. Because I was being a little bit too quick to remove it from the paper. Okay, so I'm thinking I might be able to use the same papers that we used yesterday. This is the perfectly penciled, but I don't want the detailed ones. We've got some black and white on the back. That one. It's quite effective. Let's just look at the other designs. Let's see. So I've got this one. That's quite nice actually. Or I've got stripes, or this one. Oh dear, too much choice now. So these are the same perfectly penciled papers that I used yesterday. So this is another of designs, and this one is one that I used yesterday. So I just need to decide. I quite like it with the black background. What do we think? The crisscross, the flowers, or the little daisies? There's the crisscross, that's the flowers, and that's the daisies. I'm just going to let Cassie out. Come on. Sorry about that. I have to let Cassie out very quickly. So I'm not sure. The flowers or the daisies, says Carrie. So that's that one. Those are the flowers. And those, that's the plain one. Crisscross. Yes, I think I've got a feeling for that because it's not too regimented, it's slightly subtle, and obviously you could use any backing paper, you could use any just plain coloured card, you could stamp images on the back, all sorts of variations. So let's just use a piece of this. What's on the other side? Oh, it's that pretty one there. So let me cut that up. I've probably got a piece the right size anyway, but I'm going to cut this. So I'm going to do this at 9.5 centimetres. By 13.85. And I'm going to take a black layer and then put it onto white again. So I know it's a little bit repetitive, but it just makes it really stand out. So this will be 0.5 centimetre bigger. So 10 by 14.35. Have we still got sound? I hope so. I don't know what happened yesterday. Okay, and that's going to go onto a white card. Or I might pick I could pick a coloured card. Let's layer this up first and see. So you get 12 sheets of this perfectly penciled paper. Oh, good. Normally everybody's very good at commenting if the sound or anything goes, or if it stops, pauses. But okay, so I'm not going to use all of these on one card. It's going to be a little bit busy. That's just the edge there where again it was damp, so I'm just going to trim that. I like these. Do it this way. Maybe something like that. So I've still got another 3 to play with, so you can put 2 cards out of that. Quite like that, and then with a small sentiment across the bottom. So what I can do is use a bone folder to soften the watercolour paper. So sort of bending it down and back up again, just to give it a little bit of interest. Like so. So I hope everybody has a nice day planned. There again is that little edge. From the die cut. So it's quite stiff, the watercolour paper. It's a good quality watercolour paper, and you do want to use a good quality paper. Obviously we sell watercolour paper, but you can get it from good stationers. Let's just do this one here. Hi Babsy, long time no see, I hope you're well. So I think that's what I'm going to do, one like that, and then have this sort of connecting them together. So I think I'm going to pop this one down with some glue in the centre. Like that. And maybe a little glue on the top edges. So for anybody who's joined us after the start, we've done the Emboss-Resist technique. So I took a sheet of watercolour paper, I stamped these butterflies with a clear ink, and then used white embossing powder on the top and melted the embossing powder. And then I went over with a water brush and some re-inkers which I dropped onto a block, and it gives us that effect. That was the filled in bit. And then I decided to cut these out so I could use them individually. So there's one, put that one that way, like so. There we go. And the paper behind is our perfectly penciled paper that we used yesterday for a different watercolour technique. I'm going to pop this one up on dimensionals. I've only got black ones to hand. I haven't unpacked my bag from yesterday's class, so apologies for that. So I just want that sitting on top at an angle. Hopefully, oh, there we go. Hopefully you can see that. If I just turn that, you can see that little bit of detail. And then I think just a small sentiment across the bottom, which I could do on black and heat emboss in white, which will look quite stunning, or I could do it one of the colours on a piece of white, and that's going to go onto either a coloured or a white layer. I could pick out one of these colours, or I could do it on a white layer. Let's have a quick look, see what I've got. Oops. Of course that's everything but. So this is Daffodil Delight, but I could pick out the pink or the purple. Or stick to white. It's a white one. Yeah, that's nicer, isn't it? because I've got 3 colours. I think if I had a single colour, then that would have worked with the same colour backing. But because I've got 3 on there, oh, it wasn't very clean, but there we go. So that's going to go onto there. Like that. And then I think a little white sentiment on a small piece of black card would look good. Let's see what I've got. I've got congratulations. Yes, let's do congratulations. Yes, that would fit perfectly on there. So, just got a little scrap of white. I'm going to stamp this in Versamark and heat emboss it. Let's bring back our tools. Let me find my embossing buddy. Thank you, Glenda. Right, so I'm just using that across the top here, like so, and I keep mine in an empty embellishment jar so it doesn't get powder everywhere. Here's my congratulations, which isn't very straight. Just want to let that relax on my work surface. And then put my block on. Versamark ink pad. Like so. Yep, that looks hopeful. I can get away with just dipping this in here. There we go. Tiny little bit. I think there was a little hair there. Okay, let's just heat set that one. Sorry, I realised I was doing it to the side and you couldn't see it. Okay. Let's make sure that's shiny right the way over, which it is, and I'm just going to trim that down. I could cut it out with a die cut, but I've taken up a lot of your time already today. So. And I had the perfect person to send this to, so it's funny how these things work out, isn't it? So I'm just going to do this at an angle. And pop that up with some dimensionals. And these happen to be black, which is convenient. So we do black and white ones. The black ones come in a mixed pack of large and small, which is quite useful. It saves you cutting them up. And then the white ones you can choose from large or small. Okay, so just going to pop this across here. like so. And there's our finished card. Absolutely nothing like I was expecting to do. But isn't that the way sometimes? Okay, so I've got some other ones here, so I can do another card in the same way. And I just want to show you quickly, thank you Kerry, this is the watercolour that I did earlier, and I'm just going to show you die cutting those larger butterflies. Hopefully it's dried enough. Let me just cut those out so you can see them. What's the larger one? So bear with me a second while I just do that. Let's just line that up. Just going to run it through twice. Hopefully that will be enough. I'm going to do it once more. They really do need to be dry for the die cutting machine to get through that watercolour paper. Let's see. So this is just a different way, and I've used butterflies, but obviously these could be flowers as well, don't have to be butterflies. It's just a bit damp where the antennae are, so I will need to poke these out. I'm just reluctant. There we go. So I'm not going to sit and poke all of these out for now, but I will finish this after, just so that you can see the effect of the watercolour on these butterflies here and here. Okay, so thank you so much for joining me. I will finish those off, but this is the second in our watercolour week. So this is, thanks Jeanette, and thanks for sticking out all of this time. So this is in the Emboss-Resist technique, and then all I've done is die cut the outlines of those and pop them up onto some patterned paper, and I will finish these off. I'll just let these dry properly, and I'll make these into another card as well. So thank you so much for joining me this morning. I hope it's been useful, you've learnt something, or you've just enjoyed each other's company. I will be back tomorrow, Thursday, at 7 PM UK time, at 7 in the evening, for the next in our watercolour series. This was what we did yesterday, so you can hop back and see how I did that. This is also going to be our copy and card design for this week, so some nice easy colouring with our watercolour pencils. Thank you so much everybody, do take care. Any questions, don't hesitate to pop them in the comments section or contact me directly. Have a great morning, afternoon or evening, depending on when you're watching, and I look forward to crafting with you soon. Thanks for watching, bye for now.